TalkTainmentRadio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, 3MR Production, its ownership, management, or staff.
We've got the power.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
This is The Compensatory Concept, of course, with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio, the way it should be heard. This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio, the way it should be heard. Mr. Fuller joins us live every Tuesday at the same time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, my mistake. And if you don't catch him here, you can catch him on the podcast. You can go to TalkTainmentRadio.com, and then you can hit Compensatory Concept, and voila, the programs come up. I think there are about 7 or 8 different podcasts, maybe more, that you can download and listen to at your time frame. Not necessarily ours, but if you're joining us live, we're here with Mr. Neely Fuller at, and you can get involved at 1-877-932-9766. That's 1-877-932-9766. Mr. Fuller, how are you, sir?
I'm still learning.
Mr. Fuller, war. What about war? But before we get to that, tell us about your 2 definitive works and the names of them and how we can go about getting them. Mr. Fuller.
The names of the books are The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. That's a basic title, and that title is explained in the book itself. But there's a subtitle that is more explanatory, and that's a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism. Racism being in the form of white supremacy. That's addressed to an individual person about how to think and how to speak and how to act as a result of the existence of racism on an individual basis, day by day, in every area of activity. Some suggestions about what to do about it as an individual person, without having to ask anybody's permission to do anything, just some perspectives, some suggestions, not all suggestions, but some suggestions that can lead to solving the problem of replacing the system of racism with the system of justice. And both of the books, there's a word guide that's an addition to the basic book. But both of the books are addressed to replacing the system of racism with the system of justice. And justice meaning guaranteeing that no person, white or non-white, is mistreated, and that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, the book can be obtained by pushing up on your computer the word TINY, TINY, .cc, then a // and then the word Fuller in capital letters. That's the word TINY, TINY, .cc // then the word Fuller in capital letters.
Okay. Mr. Fuller, there's a lot going on around the world. I'm sure you've been keeping up with what's happening over in Africa, in particular, that area that they have always, some say, have misnomered as the quote-unquote Middle East, because it's hard to know what all that means and stuff like that. And, we got a lot of things going on. We've got that going on. We've got the situation with Detroit. I don't know if you're familiar with what's happening in Detroit. Are you familiar with it, Mr. Fuller?
No, I haven't heard anything recently.
Okay. What's going on is that Detroit's got a big debt. They've got, it's mostly an African-American area. It almost appears as if war has been declared on cities that are largely black, that appear to be run by black people. At least black people are in the political positions. You got Dave Bing, former NBA star, who's the mayor of Detroit. And Detroit seems to be deeply in debt right now. And they probably are looking for some kind of federal bailout. But the problem becomes now you've got this huge budget that is sitting there. And now there's a problem because the money isn't there. I want you to take a listen to a Detroit councilwoman and what she says about the need to be about Detroit councilwoman to Obama now bail us out. Let's see what she's saying. This is what we had talked about, some of those demands that we felt.
Meanwhile, Councilwoman Joanne Watson has called on the White House to bail out the city of Detroit. She says she expects it after the re-election of President Barack Obama.
After the election of Jimmy Carter, the Honorable Coleman Alexander Young, he went to Washington, D.C. He came back home with some bacon. Right. That's what you do. That's what you do. This is our people, in an overwhelming way, supported the re-election of this president, and there ought to be a quid pro quo, and you ought to exercise leadership on that. Of course, not just that, but why not?
The federal government has bailed out cities before. In 1975, President Gerald Ford extended more than $2 billion in credit to New York City to help it avoid a financial collapse.
So,
did you know that?
So, Mr. Fuller, what we're looking at is this notion that, as I said before in last week's piece, there's something that is to be owed. And one could even say that we are, I know you've dealt with the definition of war, but I don't see how you can get more clear than a definition of war when you see the definition of what's happening to the cities or to the places or to the areas that black people are living. Some of the data is so tremendous. It's just so tremendous in terms of the data that are there in terms of what's happening to the black community before in the last 4 years, and the fact that there is no relief even talked about. Now you've got this thing called the fiscal cliff. You've heard that term, I'm sure, and that everybody's pushing this notion of there's a fiscal cliff, and it just sounds to me like it's more of a justification to keep putting money into what I call those war-torn areas, because I can come out with no other definition that war must have been declared in these communities where black people live. Let me get you a response, Mr. Fuller.
Well, war is any action that is taken against a person or a group of persons by other persons in order to do harm unjustly. That would be, and then counter war would be to counteraction that particular war. And so then you just have a conflict between groups of people. So the system of racism is the only major war that you have. You might say it's the only war among the people of the planet, the system of racism in the form of white supremacy. All other conflicts are just battles. Battles are a part of a war. So once you set a racial standard for the entire world, which is what white supremacy is all about, the system of white supremacy in all 9 areas of activity, because war is just not a matter of people shooting with guns. War takes in all of the areas of activity, and that's economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, and sex. And so it takes in all of these areas. And so when you're making war on people, you're disrupting all of these areas of activity, not just one. And so the biggest war we've ever seen since I've been on the planet has been the war between those who believe in the system of racism and those who don't. Because the system of racism is, you might say in capital letters, the war. So naturally, in a place like Detroit, the white supremacists, the people, those white people, not all white people, but those white people who believe in the system of white supremacy, have made a decision. And that is the people of Detroit, if they are in number, vast in number, classified as non-white, then they are supposed to suffer. That goes with it. War is about causing suffering. So these people are not supposed to get a so-called bailout or any help, and they're supposed to be set up so that they turn on each other, so that they kill each other in the streets. The young people not knowing what to do, not being frustrated, that is, and not knowing what their mission is on the planet, or their mission is in life, or what they're supposed to be doing from one moment to another when they get up in the morning, just walk the streets and look wild, and then finally just start lashing out, not having any money, not having any direction, not having any reason for being, really, any reason for even living. And so they just look around at all the devastation, all the boarded up buildings, no jobs, nobody telling them what to do, nobody telling them what is important and what isn't important, and what a person who is on the planet is supposed to be doing from one minute to the next. So they just do wild things, and they don't have any idea themselves about how can I use my time, and if I have a lot of time, how do I use this time? What's the first thing that I do when I get up in the morning? So this can be duplicated all over the world, not just in a place called Detroit, because the system of white supremacy is worldwide. So wherever there are dark-skinned people, there's a plan already made. Keep these people in disarray. Keep these people chaotic. Keep them going at each other's throats. Keep them out of food. Keep them out of water. Keep them out of medicine. Keep them out of a education system that teaches them anything that they can use. They come out with a piece of paper in their hand and nobody's telling them where to go and what to do. They just stand there with a piece of paper in their hand. And finally, they just throw it somewhere aside into a trunk or something, and then next thing you know, they're in some type of trouble, and the next thing you know, they're locked up. Well, that's a plan. That plan was made before they even started the school. That's got to be understood.
Okay. So, in essence, what you're telling me, Mr. Fuller, is that war is more than just the things that have been defined as war. It takes on a much bigger meaning. Is there such a thing as a race war, Mr. Fuller?
That is the only war. Everything else in the system of racism, see, once you establish an entire world system of racism, racism itself is war, and it's the only war. And like I said before, all the other incidents that you hear on a daily basis, people killing each other, people cheating each other out of money, people doing this and doing that, people robbing, people stealing, these are all a part of the battles that go into a war. The whole world is constantly at war in a system of racism, because the system of racism says you're supposed to mistreat people based on color. That's what racism is. Find somebody to mistreat based on color. Find somebody to dominate. First of all, you dominate them. You get control of them. Get control of their comings and goings and all like that. Get control of their aspirations. Get control of the food that they eat and everything. Then that's a form of war, once you get this control and you're not using it for a constructive purpose, you're just using it to build up your ego by being able to look at people that you have now put in complete chaos, complete disarray. I mean, driven them completely insane, and then you just stand back and enjoy the show. That's what racism is really all about. It's not about trying to gain anything, because once you gain the power over people based on color to mistreat the people, that becomes your reason for being. That's why it's so difficult to replace the system of racism, because people don't have any experience with doing anything else. Black people don't have the experience with doing anything else other than being subject to racism. We never experienced anything like that. And the white people who are born into the system, are like soldiers born into an army. They're like the children of soldiers born into an army of the soldiers in a war that's already in operation.
You know,
so they just fall right in line and start doing all the things
right.
that they see the other people doing, and then it just keeps going on and on and on, because no one is talking about, wait a minute, maybe we need to have an entire new system of doing business
right.
on this planet.
Now, Mr. Fuller, what's interesting is that I'm going to present something to you that I presented to a group of people, and I think it would validate exactly what you just said about not having any other way to think about anything. Stay right there. I'm going to present that coming up next on the Compensatory Concept, heard exclusively on TalkTamerRadio.com.
This hour brought to you by the Upper Cup Coffee Company. From lattes to decaf, coffee is our culture. 79 Parsons Avenue, downtown. 220-0206 or theuppercup.com.
At TalkTamerRadio.com, we don't just talk. We don't just entertain. We've combined talk radio with the latest in online entertainment, with the ability to listen live at no cost 24/7. We are the premier online radio station. Outperforming the digital quality of our competitors, our shows are produced in a state-of-the-art studio by the best radio professionals in the business. Hosting live shows on location at some of the area's greatest and most popular events, we give you exactly what you want to hear with talk radio that matters to you. Join us online at TalkTamerRadio.com, where you can listen live or play podcasts from the best shows in online talk radio. We give you a reason to come. We give you a reason to stay. TalkTamerRadio.com. Radio the way it should be heard.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
Benta Employment Agency, owned by Falami Benta Hunter with over 40 years of service. Benta Employment Agency's goal is to give everyone who wants to work an equal opportunity for employment. If you are a small business owner or a national corporation, give Benta Employment Agency the opportunity to help your staffing needs. Benta Employment Agency's vision is to decrease the unemployment numbers in Ohio by securing jobs for individuals while providing quality pre-screened personnel for employers. Call them today at 614-444-4404.
Welcome to that time of year. Time to start planning your holiday shopping list. And if you have book lovers on your list, then think about a visit to the Village Bookshop on Route 161. Located in an historic old church building in Linworth, the Village Bookshop is Ohio's largest book clearinghouse outlet. Save up to 90% on the widest array of books available anywhere, with something for just about everybody on your shopping list, even yourself. The Village Bookshop, just west of Route 315 on 161. Open 7 days a week. 614-889-2674.
Cutters. Uh-oh. What are we gonna do now? Give me the phone. Hello, Jimmy John's. Thank God you made it. I was so hungry I thought I was gonna die.
Jimmy John's, America's sandwich delivery experts.
Nice work, Johnson.
The Samsung Galaxy S3 with T-Mobile's 4G data versus the competition. Sprint's 4G LTE coverage is limited. AT&T and Verizon have data caps. T-Mobile wins with unlimited nationwide 4G data.
Hello, this is Les Brown, wishing you and yours a plum-pleasing holiday season, only on TalkTainmentRadio.com. Radio the way it should be heard.
Hey, this is Ted the Golden Voice Williams, and you're listening to TalkTainmentRadio.com. Radio the way it should be heard.
I'm Tammy. I got your lucky number, heard exclusively on Conversate in the AM at 11 a.m. Mondays and Fridays. Make sure you tune in for your lucky number. Punch in TalkTainmentRadio.com and click on Listen Live and listen for your lucky number.
We've got the power.
Justice is better than racism.
This is the compensatory concept, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. Radio the way it should be heard. I'm Brother Guard, sitting in every week at this time alongside, of course, the person who we build this show around, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., but more importantly, as he would tell you, what we do is we build the show around the work, not necessarily the person, but Mr. Fuller. Without Mr. Fuller and his diligence and his commitment and years of focus on this whole way in which we are talking about this would not exist. So it's very important that we understand both levels, but it is a definitive work. Both works are very definitive in helping to shape the whole discussion, helping to shape the whole view, helping to shape the whole way in which this thing is understood. Because to many people it is a mystery. But what Mr. Fuller's work does is it takes away the mystery and says, bam, this is what it is. You can go out and you can test it. You can focus on it. And you can see for yourself what it really is. Mr. Fuller, I asked that I did an experiment on another show which you've been on before many times, and I asked the question: what if one day black people were given an option in this area of the world called the United States, just a fantasy kind of thing? I said, if somehow it was come to a vote that black people would get 10 to 15 states in the Northwest region, 10 to 15 states, and it would be true, the money's in the bank, it's all valid, and you would get roughly between $50 to $60 trillion in the bank. And you could start your life all over again. Anything you done here wouldn't matter. Still be in the United States, still be an American, but you would have the governors of 15 states. You would have your own land. You'd be on about 1 million square miles. 40 million people on 1 million square miles is plenty of land, plenty of land. They could never take up that kind of space. You'd have plenty of land. You could start your life all over. Would you take it or would you stay here? And it was very interesting what the response was. And I said that in those 10 states, you'd be in total control. You'd have black governors, black mayors, black corporations. Everything would be black owned and black run. Would you take it or would you stay in the current condition under which you're living? And Mr. Fuller, I have to say, I was shocked. Almost 60% would stay where they were. So, and that's a small question. That's still not freedom. But what I'm saying is something I had called racial independence. But let me get your thoughts on it. Why would, even if it's not necessarily dramatically better, why would they choose to stay where they are versus attempting at least to try something new and to maybe see how something new would work? What is that kind of mentality, Mr. Fuller?
Well, first of all, the people who would say that they'd prefer to stay in the positions where they are have a reason for doing so. And in the United Independent Compensatory Code, what I've written about, every individual has to make that decision. Now, so therefore, the answer to that question would have to come to be addressed to the individual person who is asked. Okay, do you want to stay where you are, or do you want to take off to this new place that's being set up for you, and made, provisions are made for you, and you look at all the provisions and whatnot, and you make your choice. Now, do you want to stay or do you want to go? Now, you have said that the people who were surveyed said they'd rather stay. And so these are the people who would have to answer these questions. Now, if I was asked a question, I would say, I would want to know, first of all, what's the difference? Because I'm in a system of racism. That's what I want to know. What's going to be the difference? Because we already have places on this planet where you have a bunch of black people crowded all together, and sometimes not even crowded together.
Well, the first difference, they would not be crowded together. Second difference, they would have enormous resources, at least to start off with, and resources, if managed properly, they could last for maybe a lifetime or many, many years. That's for sure. That's the difference.
Well, then that would only be the black people here going to another place and being sent somewhere. I'd be suspicious of that. That's number one. First of all, what are the white supremacists going to be doing, and what is this for? It sounds like black people are just being herded again somewhere. Now, that's been done all over the world since the beginning of white supremacy. Herd them here, herd them there, give them a flag, telling them they now got it. Everything is all together. No, I wouldn't bargain for that.
Well, see,
I'm suspicious of it right from the beginning, right out of the gate.
I would take a look at it, because I would want that opportunity, even if it is something different, because it doesn't stop you from moving around anywhere. I would want at least to try something different, to learn something new, to see if the model could work, to give it a chance to put into practice the codification systems and other systems, to see how well that model would work under these new set of situations. I would take it, Mr. Fuller, in a heartbeat.
Well, that would be a choice that a person could make.
Yeah. Everybody has a choice.
But I've started with a premise, and that's what my books are built on, that the entire world, all major decisions are made by people who believe in white supremacy. So it doesn't make any difference where Neely Fuller is in the jailhouse, because the whole world is a jail. What cell I move into, maybe some cells are better than others and all like that. I'd have to take a look at them. But I definitely wouldn't want to be restricted in being able to move around.
No.
I want to be able to go anywhere I want to, including the place that they're sending me. Now, when they give me a house, that's the same basic principle. When they give me a street to live on, it's the same basic principle. You just don't have to give it a name, except you just give the street a name. Everybody is somewhere all of the time. But I don't like the idea of this being herded, because we were herded on the ships and told that this was utopia, that we're being taken to utopia, that things are going to be a whole lot better where we are going, and all like that. And some people decided once they got there that it was better, even under what you call formal slavery. Some people made that decision, but a lot of other people said, "Oh no, even though I'm around some smart people who can see to it that I don't have to go, that the water doesn't dry up and all like that, that I'll have water and I'll have food and all like that, and I might even be cured of one or two diseases and whatnot." And some people say, well, slavery is better than what I was in before then, because I didn't know what to do about my situation before I was a slave. And so when people came along and made me a slave, and they knew more than I did about a whole lot of things, actually I was better off. But most people decided, no.
Okay.
No.
All right. I mean, one could have said that about the election of Barack Obama also. They could have said, no, this is more of the same. I'm being fooled. I'm being deceived. But we still decided to support that change. Let me go, and I've got a caller on the line. Caller, you're there. Go ahead. Caller, you on the air? Hello? Oops, hold on. Okay, caller, are you there? Okay, I guess not. Okay, sorry about that. I thought someone was waiting. But at any rate, but the 40% who said yes to it, Mr. Fuller, knew the realities of certain things, because under that plan, it didn't restrict you from traveling from one state to visit, nor did it restrict you from flying all over the world to go wherever you want to go. I mean, you had your own airports. You had total control, plus the money and the resources to back it up. The only difference is to keep the peace between the races, or at least that was one plan proposed, that the Latino populations, the other populations, all of them would be separated, but they'd still be, under there. But, they just couldn't live. They'd have certain areas that they would live in. It's not segregation, because it's a separation. It's an independence with your own resources, your own power. But anyway, that's just something I threw out just to see what the mindset would be. And it was interesting, those that chose to do it and those that chose not to do it. And it was just an approach, since no one really knows what unless you do, Mr. Fuller. I don't know of anyone that said what it would look like when we were so-called free, when white supremacy did not exist. No one has really said, what would the planet look like? What does it look like in economics? What does it look like in sex? What does it look like in all the 9 areas and maybe even more of life? No one is saying, what will it look like? What will it feel like? What will we see once this has been eliminated? This was only a strategy to say, look, if we attempted this, what would be the response? Would this be a form of, I don't know. And unless you can tell me what it looks like once this is done, and that's what I'm going to ask you, what will it look like once white supremacy has been eliminated? What will the planet look like?
It would look like universal man and universal woman, in which case we would have a standard that we've never had before, because that's what I put in my books. The goal should be, we are in a universe. And so this, an idea of having some kind of little closet set aside, or room set aside for certain people to be at certain places at certain times doing certain things, I say we are in a universe, we're in a planet. We are already in a planet that is borderless, meaning these artificial borders don't mean anything to the white supremacists. So therefore, they shouldn't mean anything to me. That's the way I look at it. The white supremacists go where they please. Black people go where they're assigned in this system. And that's one thing that's got to go, period. That's got to go completely out the window. I mean, people shouldn't be assigned a place based on color, period.
Well, Mr. Fuller,
no,
let's
people
talk.
should be able to go anywhere they please to go, any time of day or night, that they are never out of place. And why? Because people are supposed to be constructive beings wherever they are on this planet and in this universe that the creator of the universe and of the planet has given to all of the people. I mean, no people have been assigned a place. That's something that people made up. I'm going to assign you this place, and then I'm going to provide this for you. Wait a minute. Where do you get off assigning anything? That's anybody assigning anybody anything. I mean, these are arrangements that are made between people on agreement based on their universality, and that they are going to interact with each other all of the time, 24/7, in all areas of activity in the most constructive manner. Therefore, you don't have to have assigned places for people. People just move about on the entire planet or throughout the entire universe if we get to the place where we travel to other planets and all like that. So you don't have to say, well, now this is the Negro planet. I mean, we'll pass by there and drop off a few goods every now and then to keep them from starving. No, that's a bad deal. That's the same old deal we got now. That's what's happening in Detroit.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to this concept of war. So you say war doesn't necessarily have to be this notion of people dropping bombs on each other. They can drop economic bombs. I tell you what, I think we do have the caller. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Ann, and I have a question to ask.
Hi, Ann. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Fuller.
my pleasure to talk to you.
Go ahead,
Been
Ann.
waiting for the opportunity.
Okay.
There was a case in Ohio, like a month ago, I believe, or 2 months ago, where a black female spat on the bus driver.
Yes.
And he gave her an uppercut.
And he gave her an uppercut, knocked her off the bus. Yes.
Yes.
I think that was up near Cleveland.
Yes. Okay. And I'm going to state another case that's in the news too as well. A young black man, Brian Bank, who was railroaded by a little black girl while they were in high school, and he went to prison, I think, for 5 or 6 years, and then she came out and said that there was no rape that took place. And I would like to ask Mr. Fuller, now there's a radio show that I listen to that's been in full support of the black woman that spat on the bus driver. I don't advocate for any black or any man hitting a woman, but what happens when, women get out of control like this? Spitting on people, really acting very, very out of control, and this other young lady who sent this young man to jail on false rape. And by the way, she received $1.5 million for that too. As well.
She did.
Yes.
My goodness.
It's in the news. I saw it this morning and was very disturbed about it.
I think I know what you're talking about. Mr. Fuller, let me give you a chance to respond. Hold on, caller. Let me give Mr. Fuller a chance to respond. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Well, I don't know about the details of it, but I do know that people have a right and a duty to self-defense if they are being harmed in such a way that they're in serious harm. But then otherwise, it's a matter of just looking at the details of each case, regardless of gender. And but generally speaking, males should be, for the most part, in most instances, the average male is much stronger than average female physically. Suppose the lady, rather than spitting, had a knife or an axe. And so, therefore, you got a different scenario there. So each scenario has to be looked at and evaluated for what it really is. How much harm is being done to whom? Under what circumstances? What do you consider to be harm? What do you consider to be negligible harm? And what do you consider to be real serious harm? So all of these details have to be evaluated. Justice comes from evaluating details. You look at every situation, regardless of the situation that happened 15 minutes before down the block. You look at this situation different because this is a different situation. If the situation is different, but if they're the same, they should be treated the same. So you have to do these things on each individual basis by looking at all of the details of what happened under what circumstances. Sometimes a person can be a mental case, who had just been dismissed from a mental institution. And so the person gets on a bus, and they don't even know that they're on a bus. And they begin to act out and do certain things, like they were doing while they were in the mental institution. Well, a person who is riding the bus may not be aware that the person is a serious mental case, or just been dismissed, or just escaped from a mental institution. So that person may act differently from a person who knows differently because the situation is different. That the person is not what you would call mentally unbalanced officially, but they may be mentally unbalanced unofficially. See, it's a lot of details to be considered after the facts, after you look into it and go over every detail of what happened, how it all evolved. That's the way I would do it, because I say that's the only way that you can have a world that is just. And that's what we should be aiming for. We should take a lot of pains.
I've been thinking about the situation a lot. I realize that as women, we should not put ourselves in situations where we're going to aggravate a situation, because that should be known that men have more physical power than we do. And when you look at the videotape, it's on YouTube, this woman is just out of control. Now, as I said before, I don't agree with this man hitting her, but I see a lot of women, jumping on her side, chastising the man for having given her this uppercut punch, but never saying what this woman should have done. You understand what I'm saying? I'm for women's rights, but let's not get it twisted. Let's keep it even. If we're looking for justice, then there has to be justice on the other side.
I tell you what, both of you stay right there because we're going to get into that a little bit more. Carla, can you stay with us?
Of course, yes. I'll be more than glad to do so.
Great. We're going to get into a little bit more, but stay right there. More to come on the compensatory concept.
The midnight hour is close at hand. Darkness falls across the land.
Countdown to the end or the beginning.
December 21st, 2012.
Is this the day of reckoning?
December 21st, 2012.
Is this the end? Follow us on Phenomenal Monday.
Heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
Radio, the way it should be heard. Is the day of reckoning near?
My son was drinking too much. When did he spiral out of control? Should I have seen the warning signs? Somehow I felt I was responsible for his drinking. I was very frustrated, and I knew I had to get help. When I came to Al-Anon, I wanted to straighten out my son's life. His drinking was tearing our family apart. In Al-Anon family groups, I found people who understood and cared because they were dealing with the same problems I was. My first Al-Anon meeting gave me hope and the knowledge that I was not alone.
Before you can help the problem drinker in your life, you need to help yourself first. For an Al-Anon family group meeting near you, call 1-888-4-AL-ANON, 1-888-425-2666. Online at www.alanonfamilygroups.org. That's alanonfamilygroups.org. A message from Al-Anon Family Groups.
Wait a minute, this is Mickey Mouse, M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-O-S-E, wishing you and yours, everybody out there, Merry Mike, what? I do have balls, Christmas balls, Merry Christmas balls, everybody out there from TalkTainmentRadio.com. Oh!
Green, 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 it's our home, it's our dream, for a life that's healthy and clean, make it green, green, green. My mom said making it green is making sure the air in your home is healthy for your family to breathe. Make sure you test your home for radon. It's easy. Just call 866-730-GREEN. Make it green, green, green.
A message from the US EPA. Business owners and managers, be among the first to experience the latest and cutting-edge technology from Microsoft, HP, and others during the Microsoft Across America mobile event experience. Learn how the newest technology tools can help your business grow. Don't miss this fun and free event.
Maybe you can drive my car, and maybe I love you.
Hi, Shaquille O'Neal for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. When you celebrate this holiday season, remember that life is very precious. If you're going to party, just plan ahead. Don't drink and drive. I repeat, do not drink and drive. And promise to designate a driver before you celebrate.
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
I'm Tammy. I got your lucky number, heard exclusively on Conversating the AM at 11 a.m. Mondays and Fridays. Make sure you tune in for your lucky number. Punch in TalkTainmentRadio.com and click on Listen Live and listen for your lucky number.
We've got the power.
Justice is better than racism.
This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. I'm Brother Kahari sitting in with Mr. Fuller every week at this time. Mr. Fuller's The Compensatory Concept can be heard live every Wednesday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the morning If you can't catch it live, you can always go to talktainmentradio.com. That's spelled TalkTainment radio.com, and just click on programs, and then you'll see the compensatory concept, and voila, it's right there. We are looking at a number of items around the world as it relates to what's happening in the black community. One that's come up that I think is really intriguing was the situation in Cleveland, and then, of course, the caller mentioned another situation that just came out today. You were saying, caller, that you felt that women in particular, let me make sure I got the word right. You said are out of control. Is that
no? Not all of them, but
okay.
I'm just saying that when a woman is out of control and we get on the bandwagon to support her, even though she might be wrong, that is absolutely not right, and it's not just.
What do you mean by the term out of control?
Well, when she was on the bus, she spat on the man, she got in his face, she called him all sort of FB words, all kinds of stuff, and I guess he took it as long as he could, and he jumped up.
Let me ask Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, what should he have done? What would have been the coded response? And let's say if you had been in that situation, what should, or I had been in that situation, what should we have done in that particular situation, Mr. Fuller?
Okay, my book is addressed to individuals. So as an individual person responding to that situation, if I was the bus driver, first of all, I would assess what is going on, because driving a bus, I would definitely expect almost anything to happen, because most bus drivers should be looking for anything to happen, things that they have never seen happen before in life during their existence. So therefore, sitting at that wheel as a bus driver, I would expect anything to happen on my bus. Now, one thing I would expect is for someone to curse me out all day long. Dozens of people, I would expect that, based on what my observations have been when I've ridden buses and whatnot. So signing on for the job, I expect to get cursed all of the time by just about anybody who appears. So that goes with the job. Next thing, I would expect sometimes maybe somebody to spit on me. I have to expect that. And I have to make a decision. Now, how am I going to react to being spat on and cursed? So I have to think about, what does the law say that I have to do? That's the first thing I think about. Any move that I make is going to come under somebody's law other than mine. So I've just been spat on in the face. All right? Somebody splattered my face with spittle. At some point, I should expect that. Now, what am I supposed to do? Well, the way that I look at it, since a law will govern what I do and what the person is doing, and meaning this is not just between me and the person, somebody else is going to get involved in this. And what is that decision going to be made by those third parties, or fourth parties, or fifth parties, people other than me? I mean, the bus drivers union and all of this. I mean, what are they going to say? And all like that. So I'm simply going to make my determination based on that by thinking way ahead that these things are going to happen. And so that means I have to be extremely focused on what I'm going to do. Now, I might just simply get up from the bus and walk off and stand off to the side. And if I got a cell phone, say, hey, somebody come and handle this, because I can't. All right? Now, that might be a scenario. Might be a scenario. In other words, I am no longer in control of this bus. Somebody's taking control of my bus.
Mr. Fuller, do you think that bus driver would have behaved differently had that been a white woman or a Hispanic woman?
I do not know. See what I mean? Because I can't get into the bus driver's mind. All you can go by is what the bus driver did and what the law says that you do when you're spat on anywhere, not only a bus driver, but anybody who is sitting in a restaurant and somebody just walks up and spits on you. What does the law say that you're supposed to do? Because it comes down to whatever the law is in that particular situation that you're in. Because you're going to be subject to somebody else who wasn't even there. See, this is what people have to keep in mind when things happen anywhere. You don't have to be a bus driver. You can just be a person sitting in a restaurant having Thanksgiving dinner, and somebody walks up and spits on you and the dinner, and you're sitting there with your family. The question is, what do? You have to know what to do before it happens. Be ready for anything, and be ready to make the correct decisions that will come out in your favor.
And that includes...
Because if you act
the bus
without
driver
thinking...
lost his job, right? I believe he did. I think the bus driver lost his job. The other case I don't think we're going to have time to discuss, and that's with the young man Brian Banks, who was accused of rape when he was 16 and he went to jail.
You're right. We've got about 2 minutes left.
Yeah, and that is really extremely interesting. To get a chance, Mr.
Kahari.
You could go on to YouTube and just type in Banks. I mean, that story is so interesting. It just pulled my interest this morning when I saw that.
Right. And you know what? I appreciate so much you calling in, because I think you put a very good question on the table. And I tell you what we're going to do.
Well, I always wanted the chance to talk to Mr.
Okay, there he is. But
I would like to say something.
Yeah, quickly, Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Yes, right quickly. I'd like to say, I saw something in the paper the other day, just one statement. They say women aren't women anymore.
Oh, God.
Women aren't women anymore. Now, someone made that statement. Now, what does that mean? And maybe that needs to be examined. What do we mean when we say women now? Is there a gender called women anymore? In other words, people now are saying that all genders are the same. So get this thing out about, hey, when you start talking about women, women don't exist. There's no such thing as a woman. That's what somebody's saying. Women aren't women anymore. Okay? So maybe that needs to be considered. And what context? I mean, are vaginas obsolete? That's a question.
Wow.
Are vaginas obsolete? What are we talking about here?
That's a very good question. Thank you, Mr. Neely Fuller, and thank you, caller. Hopefully you call again. You were very, very great, Mr. Fuller. You're always the best. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right. Okay, appreciate you. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. All right, thank you.